Evening, everyone. Good evening, Bapak Dr. Dedi Apriyadi. Thank you for coming. And today is the session 2, which is the day 8 of IVC. And we are going to the topic with Dr. Dedi Apriyadi from Bandung Institute of Technology. And the topic is Introduction to FEM for Slope Stability Analysis. So the first, I will share the CV from Bapak Dr. Dedi Apriyadi. Bapak Dr. Dedi Apriyadi is the lecturer in Bandung Institute of Technology, and the education and qualifications, bachelor degree from ITB, and master from ITB, and the doctoral from Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. And the position now is a lecturer. Previous publication, over 9 publications on ResearchGate, and over 11 citations. His skills and expertise, civil engineering and geotechnical engineering. The latest projects, loading path dependence and nonlinear stiffness at small strain using rate-dependent multi-surface hyperplasticity model, and an overview of soil models for a quick response analysis, and on the numerical implementation of hyperplasticity nonlinear kinematic hardening modified CAM-CLI model. So, Bapak Dr. Dedi Apriyadi, you have about 1 hour and 35 minutes to deliver your course materials, and following by question and answer session about 35 minutes. So, Bapak Dr. Dedi Apriyadi, the time is yours. You may share your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you, Harmita.
Yes, you're welcome, Pak.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Okay, may I share my presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay. How many students attending this class?
Usually over 100 students, but in the few days over 70 students.
Oh, okay. Is there international student?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
There are 14 international students.
Yes, but mostly in the student from ITB and the other campus in Indonesia.
Okay. Okay. I will start my presentation about introduction to finite element method for slope stability analysis. Firstly, I'd like to show my short curriculum vitae. I was born in Palembang, South Sumatra, and my education, bachelor degree and a master degree from ITB, and then PhD degree from Chulalongkorn University of Thailand. And also, I'm a member some Indonesian society, such as Indonesian Society of Geotechnical Engineer, and also Japan Society of Civil Engineer. And
my academic activities. Now I'm assistant professor of civil engineering department ITB, and also head of soil mechanics laboratory, faculty of civil and environmental engineering ITB, and also vice head of geotechnical engineering laboratory LPPM ITB. Now I'm teaching some courses, soil mechanics 1 for undergraduate program, introduction of soil dynamic and earthquake engineering, also for undergraduate program, and for graduate program I'm teaching advanced foundation engineering, soil dynamic and earthquake engineering, finite element method, and also special topics in geotechnical engineering. Okay. Principally, there is no differences between finite element for slope stability analysis and general finite element analysis, except for the slope stability analysis. Sometimes we need to know about the safety factor, the stability of the slope. Yeah. Besides, we also need to know about the deformation of the slope when the slope is movement. So before I'm going to discuss, to deliver about more detail about the not more detail, about the finite element, I think it's better first we talk about something basic, something basic. We will talk about the basic idea of the finite element. What is the basic idea of the finite element? Yeah, we can see one of the idea of the development of the finite element is approximation of the perimeter or circumference of a circle. You know about a circle, right? If say we have a circle with a radius r, can you see in the slide? We have a circle with radius r, and then we want to know the actual perimeter or circumference of the circle. So the first step from the basic idea from finite element is the discretization of the domain. So the domain means the circle with radius r. We divide it into a finite number of subdomain. We call line segment. Okay, and then each subdomain that we call a line segment, further we call as an element. As you show in this slide, this element, and the next step, the collection of the element we call finite element mass. So in our case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 element, finite number of element. Okay. For the finite element mass, if the length of the segment we call it element, is the same, yeah, the same length. So the mesh we call uniform mesh. But if we have different length of the line segment, we call uniform mesh. Okay. The elements are connected to each other at point we call as node or nodal. So in our case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodal. 5 node. Okay. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 element or subdomain. Okay. The next step, after we discrete the domain, the whole of circle with radius r, we are going to build element equation. We call element equation. Okay, let's see. We have a typical element like you show in the slide. Yes, we have a typical element. Let the length of element, it's E. You see the element length, it's E here. Okay. And then SE is the length of sector. Yeah, it's the length of sector. From the mathematics, it is easy for us to obtain the length of sector SE equal R multiplied by theta E. What is theta E? Theta E is the angle subtended by the line segment. Okay, R is the radius of the circle. So what we call previously in the element equation, can we develop HE is equal to R sinus theta E divided by 2. Yeah, you can easy to get this equation from the picture. Yeah, just divided the theta E in the two segment, and then you get the sinus theta E divided by 2. Okay, the equation HE equal to 2R sin theta E divided by 2 we call element equation. Okay, the next step, our goal, our objective is to approximate the value of perimeter of the circle, right? Okay. How can we do? We know that the total perimeter of the assembly element is equal to the summation of the length of the individual element, HE. Okay. So we can say the total perimeter of the assembly element we call Pn is equal the summation HE. For the uniform mesh, Pn will be equal to n number of the element multiplied by HE. Okay. So a Pn will be represent an approximation to the actual perimeter P. And then for uniform mesh, then we can easy get this equation theta E equal to 2 phi divided by n, because we know for the circle, total circle, we have 2p radian. So for one sector of the theta E, is equal to P divided by N. Okay, so we can assembly the element equation. Pn is equal N multiplied by He. Okay, we already get the Se as 2R sinus P divided by N. So we get the equation. Okay. The next step is to solve the equation by defining convergence and error estimate. We know that the error estimate for an element, we say AE, the capital E, is equal SE minus HE, right? Okay. So we know capital E, this error estimate for an element equal to this equation. Yeah, we already know SE, and also we already know the equation for HE. Okay, how do we get the approximation of the perimeter of the cycle? We define about a global error. So E is represent a global error. It's equal the summation of the error for one element. So we can define that global error is equal error in one element multiplied by total number of elements. In our case, the element is HE. So we can easily get this equation. Global error is equal to PR minus PN. Okay. Okay. So we can get the actual perimeter of the circle if we minimize the global error E. Means that the global error E goes to 0 as n number of element going to infinite. So from elementary textbook, you can easy to define, to solve the limit, the limit problem, right? So we can continue with this equation. So for n goes to infinite, yeah, actually we don't have to make n to infinite, but we call finite number of n. But for n goes to infinite, we can solve the limit problem for Pn by minimizing of the global error E. So we can get the Pn is equal to 2 PR. So if we go to the equation, is, yeah, we can see if n goes to infinity, we can get the global error close to 0. It means that we can approximate exactly the perimeter of the circle. Okay, you get my point, right? Okay. Okay. We continue to Okay, how to, okay. So for n goes to infinity, then we get the global error capital E n equal to 0. Okay. Means that if global error goes close to 0, means we can approximate the perimeter of the circle by dividing the circle into the sub element we call HE. Okay, so this is the basic idea of finite element. Yeah, we approach the behavior of the whole structure, the domain, into several behavior of subdomain we call as element. Okay, so the next question, why do we use the finite element method? Yeah, after we know, now we know about the basic idea of finite element. Yeah, first we divided the domain into the subdomain we call element, and then we solve the element equation. Okay. The next question, why do we use the finite element method? Okay. Okay, in this slide, yeah, first we will discuss about the key advantage of a numerical analysis over a conventional analysis tool. Okay, we know there are many numerical analysis method. You know, maybe finite difference, finite element, yeah, boundary element, distinct element. Yeah. Now we can we try to see the advantage of the numerical analysis over a conventional analysis tool, and then we further debates whether or not the numerical analysis can replace the conventional analysis tool in the design process. Okay, you see in this picture, this slope, slope, and then we can calculate the safety factor of the slope. Yeah. By the analytical method using Bishop, Janbu, and so on. Yeah, maybe you are familiar with the equation. Okay, but why we use finite element method to solve the problem that we can also use a conventional method to solve the problem? That's our question. Okay. Okay. Before we are going to talk about the comparison between finite element method and conventional method, it's better I show you complex behavior of soil or rock. Okay, we call constitutive behavior. We know that the soil or rock maybe their stress strain response, this stress, right, this strain is non-linearity. Non-linearity means the stiffness means a gradient of the this line is a function of the strain. Okay, this stiffness maybe the tangent stiffness or secant stiffness. Yeah, secant stiffness, maybe secant stiffness. Oh, my line is equal to function of strain. We call the non-linearity problem. And also soil or maybe rock have irreversibility behavior. Yeah. Sometimes if we increase the stress, yeah, we put the load into the soil or rock, and then the load we release, yeah, and then the loading path is not back to the original initial condition, but it will be goes to this loading path. This we call as irreversibility or elastoplastic behavior. Also, material memory, maybe soil or rock have the material memory behavior. Yeah, the soil, as you know, remember the highest stress, yeah, before unloading and follow the initial loading curve after reaching in reloading. Okay. Okay, also complex behavior of soil, stress path dependency, yeah, is the same stress as different strain, or also maybe rate dependency, time dependency. So it's not easy for us to simplify the complex behavior of the material, such as soil or rock, into the simple conventional calculation. Okay, that's why we have to use finite element method. Okay. Okay, this table show us that for the full numerical analysis, it means that finite element method, we can get satisfied for all the solution requirement. Yeah. For equilibrium requirement, compatibility, constitutive behavior. Constitutive behavior means a stress strain behavior, and also boundary condition. Compared to conventional method, closed form solution, limit equilibrium, stress field, limit analysis. Yeah, you can see from this table. All the solution requirement can be satisfied with full numerical analysis or finite element. Yeah. And also design requirement. Finite element also can satisfy all the design requirement for stability, movement, and adjacent structure requirement. Compare with closed form, limit equilibrium, and stress field, conventional solution. Okay. The other factor now, you know, we have a high-speed computer, right? Now, yeah, I show you this 10 generation of Intel processor, yeah, Cannon Lake, very high speed, yeah, i9. So it's advantage for development of finite element method. We have high speed computer. Okay. Also, this high speed computer is a supercomputer, yeah, such in Tokyo Institute of Technology. We have Tsubame, yeah. And this No, this not for the finite element analysis. This for game. I not recommending you use the Predator computer. Okay. 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 This slide show us some geotechnical problem that we can solve using finite element method. Okay, this substability problem is a deep excavation, is a natural slope problem. Yeah. Also this deep excavation. Yeah. This fill embankment problem. Yeah, we fill soil over the existing soil. Okay, so finally we can take some conclusion that numerical analysis or finite element can do everything conventional analysis can do, plus much more. Okay. And also the ability to predict mechanism of behavior is a major advantage. And finite element can deal with both simple and complex problem. So that's why we use finite element method for several problem in the civil, in the mining, and also maybe in geophysics problem. Yeah. But we have to know also there are uncertainties in the numerical algorithm. Yeah, you know, if we put the parameter into the finite element software, if we make the wrong input, we can get the wrong result. Okay. And also we have to know there are limitations with current constitutive model. Constitutive model means the soil or rock model that we use for representation of stress strain behavior. Okay. And then the result from numerical analysis or FEM are user dependent. Okay. So if we often use the software, finite element software, we can get maybe better than someone that just use the software for the first time. Okay, the next our conclusion that to perform useful numerical analysis or FEM, an in-depth understanding of soil or rock mechanics and also the theory behind numerical analysis is an important thing. Yeah, and also an appreciation of the limitation of concept model. Yeah, there is no concept model can modeling all the complex behavior of the material, soil or maybe rock. Yeah. And the next conclusion is familiarization with the software used to perform the analysis. Okay. Okay. Now we are going to talk about general finite element analysis. As I state in the previous slide, principally there is no differences between the general finite element or finite element method for slope variability analysis. So based on the basic idea of the finite element, we can make a generalization of finite element procedure. Basically, there are 6 steps of finite element that we derive for the what we already discussed about the basic idea of finite element. First is decretion of the domain into the element. Okay, and the next selection of stress-strain relationship. The third one, a build element stiffness matrix we call K element matrix. Okay. The next one, assembly global stiffness matrix. We assembly the element in stiffness matrix into global stiffness matrix. We call capital K matrix. And then we applied a boundary condition and also initial condition. And then the next step, solve the primary unknown. Yeah, primary unknown from the FEM is a displacement or deformation. And then the next step is solve what we call secondary unknown, stress and strain. Yeah, so in the finite element, the primary unknown is displacement or deformation. Yeah, this is the column deformation metric, and then the secondary unknown are stress and strain. Okay, yeah. Okay. Next, we talk about the element selection. Yeah. Why we have to select the element? Because we need to obtain sufficiently precise value of the nodal unknown, means the displacement or deformation. Okay. And also, the selection of element depend on the complexity of the boundaries of the discretized domain. Yeah, as we know, in the soil or rock, we have many layer. Maybe the layer is not uniform. Yeah, something like that. And also depend on the complexity of the physical behavior to be modeled. Okay, physical behavior. And then the element selection also depend on the how to we can model the friction between the structure and the soil interface. Yeah, soil structure interface between the soil or rock and then the structure. Yeah, maybe pile, yeah, maybe foundation, something like that. Okay, the selection of a constitutive law, yeah, the prediction depend on how sophisticated the stress-strain behavior that we will use. If we use the simple one, we will get also very simple output. Okay, we will talk in the next slide. Okay, so for the complex behavior of material in the finite element, it is preferred to use nonlinear stress-strain relationship, as we discussed in the previous slide. The nonlinear means the stiffness of the material as a function of the strain. Okay. Okay. So in the finite element, the element equation we can get from it's the famous equation, yeah, integration of this metric. Okay, this we call a B metric. Is D is a constitutive metric, okay? And then F metric is load, yeah. K is for stiffness matrix, yeah. Okay, in the finite element method, the integration usually undertaken using Gauss quadrature method. Yeah, maybe you already learned about the Gauss quadrature in the first level your undergraduate program. Okay, and then the next step is summing all element matrix into global matrix. Yeah, this the equation of the finite element matrix K, stiffness matrix multiplied by matrix U is displacement matrix is equal to force matrix F. Yeah. Okay. Sometime in the global system matrix K, capital K, is asymmetric. The matrix is symmetric, yeah, with m dimension, and also sometime non-zero coefficient just lie on the diagonal of the matrix, so we can easy to store the element of the matrix K just for the non-zero coefficient, yeah. And then using this equation, K multiplied by U is equal F. Yeah, this stiffness matrix. K is stiffness matrix, U is displacement matrix, and F is force matrix. Yeah. So mean that the force is equal stiffness matrix multiplied by displacement. That equation we can solve by minimize the error during the computation of the global stiffness matrix. Okay, finally, after we get U displacement matrix, and then we calculate the secondary unknown stress and strain, yeah, from this equation. Yeah. So first we get the strain from the displacement or deformation, and then we get the stress from the strain. Okay. Okay. Now let me also explain about the coordinate system of the finite element. Yeah. If we have a simple bar element like this, so the position of the nodal 1 and 2, we can specify, yeah, the position of nodal 1 and 2 as x1 or x2 by using the coordinate system of x, right? And also the global coordinate system x we call as a global coordinate system that define for the whole structure. But we can define the position of the nodal 1 and 2 by using other coordinate system we call S, that the initial of the coordinate system from the nodal 1 position. So we can say that nodal 1, the coordinate system is S1 and S2 for nodal 2. Yeah. This system we call local coordinate system because defined for specific element, not for the whole structure. Global mean for the whole structure, local mean specific element. Okay. But in the finite element, we use unique system coordinate we call as natural coordinate system. Yeah. What natural coordinate system? Natural coordinate system is we define a position of nodal by using a series of non-dimensional number less than 1. So in our example, we use C, symbol C for the natural coordinate system. C 0, -1, and -2. Yeah, we define the number less than 1. This is the unique system coordinate in the finite element analysis. Yeah. Okay. This just show us global coordinate system and natural coordinate system. Harmita, please remind me about the time. Okay.
Yes, Kak.
Okay.
You can continue about 30 minutes.
Okay. Okay. The basic one for the finite element is what we call as shape function. If you open the manual of the commercial software of the finite element, maybe in civil engineer, the famous one is Plexis, yeah, or Midas, yeah, or Abacus, something like that. You can find shape function. Actually, shape function is interpolation function in mathematics. So by using the shape function, we can interpolate behavior of along the element based on behavior on the nodal. So what happened in the element based on what happened in the node. This is the function of the shape function. Yeah? The objective of the shape function. Yeah. Because the shape function in mathematics similar with interpolation function. So also in finite element we have shape function in linear order. Linear order mean the displacement is a linear function of the coordinate. Yeah. Or the displacement of the element inside the element is function linear function of the nodal displacement. And also we have quadratic element, mean a second order polynomial of interpolation function. Yeah. And also we have shape function cubic element, means the element use third order polynomial of interpolation function. Okay. Okay. And also quartic element. This use fourth order polynomial. So in the finite element, we have before that there are some uniqueness of the shape function. Yeah. First, the summation of shape function is equal 1. Yeah. If we calculate the shape function for nodal I and for nodal j, we can get the summation of ni plus nj is equal to 1. Yeah. So mean that the shape function 1 at node I and 0 at all other node. Yeah. We can learn further if you interesting with finite element analysis. Okay. So in the finite element, based on the order of the interpolation function or in finite element terminology we call shape function, we have element based on the order of shape function, based on order of its shape function. We have linear element like this, 2 node, 3 node, 4 node, and also quadratic element and cubic element. So if you use cubic element, means the finite element use third order of polynomial to interpolate the behavior of the maybe displacement in the element based on the displacement already know in the node. Okay, it is some element shape, related to the degree of the shape or interpolation function. Okay, this some terminology of finite element, degree of freedom, and then force factor. Degree of freedom collected in column factor, force factor collected in column factor. Kemudian stiffness equation, this stiffness equation, related between force and displacement. Okay, okay. There is also the important thing about the equilibrium. Equilibrium means equation that relate between force and displacement, usually approximate at a nodal point. And compatibility. Compatibility. This equation we use to relate between the not stress strain, between displacement and strain compatibility, between displacement and strain, like so in this slide, in the nodal 1 and 2, it should be compatible between displacement nodal 2 at element 1 and nodal 1 at element 2. Okay, it should be compatible. If the element 1 move on the right side, also the element 2 will be moved on the right side with similar magnitude of displacement. Means compatibility. And the next terminology is constitutive behavior related between stress and strain. This is very important in the finite element, constitutive behavior. Okay, I will show you also about the element generation, how to generate the element. We know we have dimension of the element 1D, 2D, or 3D, right? And also we have nodal point that connected between element. Okay, nodal point, as we discussed in previous slide, nodal means something that connected element. Nodal point, sometimes the position at the end of element, like shown in this picture, and also at the corner for the triangular element. Also in the middle, in the advanced commercial finite element software, you can see many element had been developed, maybe until 15 node. So many middle nodal located in the element. And then boundary condition, boundary condition on our initial condition. The next one is element nodal force. And then internal element properties, strength, stiffness. I will not talk in detail about the point 3, 4, and 5. Okay, let me show you some guideline. If you use the finite element software, if possible, use simple element and coarse mesh element. Yeah. Coarse and fine mesh, it will be depend on high or low gradient of strain and or stress. Yeah. For I suggest you for the preliminary design, it's better we use a simplest element and also a coarse mesh, not fine mesh. Yeah, for the preliminary design, and also the aspect ratio should be less than 3. Yes, you see, this a good element, this a poor element, because the aspect ratio higher than 3. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this good, this poor. Yeah, it's really important if you use the computer program. Yeah, and then how to we select between triangular or quadrilateral element. Yeah, depend on the gradient of our problem. Yeah. Okay. In the beginning of the slide, yeah, we talk about the factor of safety. This is the one that make a difference between general finite element with finite element for stability analysis. In finite element for stability analysis, we need to know factor of safety. And then in finite element method, they use strength reduction method to calculate of the factor of safety using this equation. Strength reduction method is a ratio between available strength and strength at failure. So from this method, we can calculate the stability of the slope by using the finite element method. Yeah. Okay. Now I will show you a simple example finite element for slope stability analysis for road embankment. Yeah. Okay. In this case, we need to see the effect of soil model in our problem. Here we have the original soil layer, clay, yeah, and then we fill sand over the clay. Yeah, this table show the properties of the soil. Is unit weight, permeability, stiffness, and strength. You can see for the clay we use Moore-Coulomb model, yeah, Moore-Coulomb model, MC model, yeah, and then we can evaluate how if we use different model, and then what the effect of the soil model. Okay, for this problem, we can model just half of the problem, yeah, like this, yeah, because symmetrical problem, so we can model just half of the problem, yeah, like this, yeah. Okay, this soil parameter. We can use maybe Plexus or Midas, yeah, or Abacus. And then we will check also if we use coarse mesh and fine mesh. Yeah, first I would like to show you if we use coarse mesh with 6 node. Yeah, 6 node element. Yeah, this the arrangement of the mesh. Yeah, with 6 node element. Yeah. Okay. If we use this program, yeah, by using the equation that already we discussed previous, yeah, we can get the factor of safety from the slope, yeah, slope embankment, yeah. We can see the safety factor as safety, this one, 1.4, yeah, 1.42, yeah. If we use coarse mesh with a 6 node, yeah, with 6 node, yeah. How if we use fine mesh, yeah. This fine mesh, we use how many node? 15 node. Yeah, we will get more accurate factor of safety, 1.37. So from this problem, we can get a conclusion. If we use coarse mesh, yeah, we will get safety factor more higher. It means that our result is not too accurate. But if we use fine mesh and also use many nodals from 6 to 15 node, yeah, we will get a more accurate result. Yeah, the safety factor will be less than the previous one. We get safety factor is 1.37, yeah, compared to this one. If we use 6 node, and means that we use a coarse mesh, yeah, coarse mesh. Okay. Also, this one plot of the excess pore water pressure. Yeah, this one plot of the excess pore pressure. Excess pore pressure mean as we know, in the soil there is water, yeah, inside of the soil grain, yeah. So if we put soil into the dead soil, so the water inside the grain of soil will be release the energy, yeah. We call as excess pore water pressure, yeah. So we will get higher excess pore water pressure, means that more accurate result of excess pore water pressure if we use 15 node compared to 6 nodes, yeah. So I suggest you, for the preliminary design, it's better we use a 6 node, yeah, just to check our model is correct or not. And then after that, because if we use more higher number of nodes, the computing time will be longer than if we use 6 node. Okay. So for the preliminary analysis, it's better we use a lower number of node, yeah, such in our example 6 node, yeah. And so our computing time is not too long, and then after we get the result, we can continue further analysis with higher number of nodes, yeah, to get more accurate of the result, yeah. Okay. Result of a safety factor and also deformation, yeah, deformation. Okay, this for 6 node, yeah, this for 15 node, yeah. The excess power vector pressure is the predicted excess power pressure is more accurate, yeah, compared to 6 node. And also the safety factor a little bit lower, yeah, little bit lower, yeah, is 1.42 for 6 node, and then if we use 15 node, we will get 1.3, yeah, the factor of safety of our slope. Okay. Okay, let me show you about the effect of the soil model. Yeah, this important thing. Yeah, we know soil or rock have many stress strain behavior model. Yeah, such a linear elastic model, non-linear elastic model, elastoplastic or elastoviscoplastic model, and also nonlinear continuous elastoplastic model. Yeah. If we use a different soil model, we will get also different result. Let's see our example. Yeah, the same example. Yeah, this root embankment. Yeah, we need to build a road by filling the sand over the clay soil. Yeah, the similar case with when we investigated about the effect of the number of nodes. Now we want to know effect of the soil model, yeah, in the slope stability analysis. Okay, first we use Moore-Coulomb model. Yeah, this stress strain behavior from Moore-Coulomb model. Yeah, you see in the Moore-Coulomb model there is no yield stress. Yeah, at the specific of the stress, suddenly the material will be failure. Yeah, will be undergo with the continuous deformation. Yeah. Okay. If we use the Moore-Coulomb model, we can this Moore-Coulomb model. Yeah, you see in the slide the displacement is about the maximum. Yeah, the maximum is the not actual, because this we get the displacement from the stability analysis is equal 184 meter, because this is under failure condition. Yeah, But if we use elastic linear model, we will get, you see, the displacement, yeah. This the safety factor, yeah. Safety factor is 1 to 6 exponent 2 7. Very high value of the safety factor. Why like this? Because in the linear elastic model, there is no failure can be occur. You see, if we increase the stress, the strain also will be increased, right? There is no limitation of the stress like the Moore column model. In Moore column model, we have limitation of the increasing of stress. But in linear elastic model, we can increase stress continuous, yeah, without failure, without the soil or material failure, yeah. So that's why we get the safety factor is very high, because the material never get the failure condition, yeah. Okay. Okay, this is the deformation result, yeah. We can see if we use Moore column model, the maximum total displacement, yeah, caused by the root embankment, it will be 0.1 meter, 10 centimeter, right? Yeah, 10 centimeter, the maximum value of total displacement, 10 centimeter, the maximum, yeah. But if we use elastic linear, we will get smaller maximum value of the deformation, yeah. Why? Because in the elastic linear, the material never get failure condition, yeah. We can increase the stress or load without failure of the original or existing soil layer, yeah. Okay, we will get a smaller maximum value of total displacement. So what I want to explain that it is important in finite element, yeah. We select the number of node or the type of element, and also the constitutive model for our material, because the selection will be affected to the result, yeah, safety factor and also the disbursement. So we have to carefully to select the type of element and also the type of material constitutive model that we will use in the finite element. Okay. Okay. I think my presentation already finished. Harmita.
Yes, Bapak Dr. Dedi Apriyadi, thank you very much for very interesting and useful presentation. Now we are going to the question and answer session. So to all participants, if you have any question, please raise your hand or write down in this chat box. So we have question from Bapak Dr. Wahyudi Widiatmoko. Can you see in the chat box? Bapak Dr. Dedi Apriyadi.
Okay.
There are 3 questions.
Okay. 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 Thank you, Pak Wahyudi. You have 3 questions. First, what type of soil has elastic, plastic, or high plasticity behavior? Okay. Actually, the behavior of soil is elastoplastic, or in the advanced soil model, we call hyperplasticity. Hyper mean over, beyond of the conventional plasticity. So I suggest you, if we use the finite element, we can use elastoplastic or hyperplasticity model to obtain the accurate result. Yeah. And then how can we select it in our case for substability analysis? Yes, we have, as we discussed in my presentation, in finite element, we have to deep understanding about the stress strain response of our material. Yeah, so if we discuss about the soil substability, as we know, the stress strain response of the soil is elastoplastic or hyperplastic. So I just suggest you to select a more advanced model, but the computing time will be longer. Yeah, that's why some people sometimes for prelimination they just use a simple model because the computing time is it's shorter. Yeah, shorter. Okay, how much time is required to run a finite element program for 2D or 3D? Okay, okay, maybe I go to big this one. Okay. 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 2D. Okay. This one 2D. Okay. Yeah. This element for 2D. Yeah. This bar element is for 2D. Yeah. Or 1D, because the degree of freedom just in one direction is 2D, and then this one for 3D. Okay, I will back to your question. How much time? Yeah. Because in the 3D actually we have a more higher number of nodal. So if we use, say we use a quadratic element like this, yeah, 10 node quadratic element. In 2D, we just have 8 node. And then for 3D, even similar element, quadratic, but for 3D, we have 10 nodes. So the computing time, it will be longer. Yeah, it will be longer because the degree of freedom of 3D problem is higher than the 2D problem. Yeah. Do you know of finite element which is freely available? Oh, I didn't know about the. It is a freeware program, Pak Wahyudi. Your question number 3.
You mean Fluxys is free?
No,
To
but it is a
download?
commercial one.
Commercial, okay.
Commercial one, yeah. I don't know the free. Is there a free? I don't know. Is there or not the free commercial free finite element program? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The next question. You use finite from Ramadhani. You use finite element as main method. Why you choose finite element over finite different? Okay. Maybe in the elementary level during your undergraduate program, we know that finite difference has one limitation that we call the unconditional stability. Mean that finite different, the solution of finite different depend on the what we call delta, the increment of the maybe time or maybe length of our problem. Yeah, there's one of disadvantage of the finite different we call as unconditional stability problem. Yeah, unconditional stability. So we have to specify the length of our element precisely, because if we use the bigger one, we will get maybe divergent solution. We cannot get a conclusion. We cannot get a result from the finite difference if we cannot fulfill the unconditional stability criteria. But in a finite element, there's no problem with unconditional stability. Okay, that's the advantage of the finite element. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Is there any question again from the participant?
Yeah, two question. Okay. Okay. So one more important thing in the finite element method that please first we have to understand about the behavior of the material, soil, rock, steel, concrete, because different material will be have different stress strain behavior. So maybe one model is good for the concrete, but it's not good for the soil, something like that. Maybe, for example, Tresca model. You know Tresca model, yeah, Tresca model. It will be good for concrete or steel, yeah, but it's not good for soil, yeah, something like that, yeah. So be careful to select the constitutive model or the soil model when we use the finite element model. Yeah, and also the type of element. Yeah, the type of element. When we use the higher node of element, when we use the lower node of element. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Is there any question again from participant? Or in the chat box, there is one question. Pak Dedi,
Okay.
can you see?
I will check. I want to ask, can you explain about inversion? What do you mean? What inversion finite element method? Rizka, what you mean with inversion finite element method?
Okay, Miss Rizka, maybe you can ask directly. You can open your mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dedi. Inversion in geophysics, we know two model, here forward and inversion modeling. And in inversion model, we also applied finite element. And can you explain about inverse finite elements? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Rizka.
Sorry, I cannot get your question about the inversion of finite element method. Maybe we can discuss after this class. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Or Mbak Rizka, Miss Rizka, do you want to explain again?
Thank you, Mr. Dedi.
Oh, okay. I think there is no question again from participant. So if there is no question again, you can stop your share screen, please, Pak Dedi. Thank you. So Pak Wahyudi, do you have something to say? Please.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Harmita. So,
we still have 30 minutes remain, yeah.
yeah, or do you have maybe other material to give us, Pak Dedi?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Maybe I can get from Okay, I will talk about the maybe this one. Okay. This okay. I take this from my course in the advanced soil mechanic, Pak Wahyudi.
Okay, yeah, please.
Okay, I will show the development of soil model in the commercial finite element software.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we see from the table this element type. Yeah, we have a beam interface. So our constraint is the three last element: plane strain, asymmetric, and solid, because we often use this kind of element for soil or rock problem. Okay, in the left side, you see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have more than 10 soil model, or in the this table from manual Midas. Yeah, I took from a manual of Midas. So we have the linear elastic. The upper soil model is the simplest one, and then the lowest is advanced model. Not very advanced, hyperbolic model. Yeah.
Please show your slide, please, Pak Deddy.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. This table show us development of a soil model in the commercial finite element software. Yeah. So we can see in the right side this the element type. Yeah, we concern in the plane strain, asymmetric solid, and solid element, because this kind of element often we use in the soil or rock problem. And then in the left side is the failure condition or soil model. Yeah, you see this is the simplest one, linear elastic model. Yeah, linear elastic model. And then we have linear and non-linear elastic model. Yeah, linear means the stiffness is not function of displacement or strain, but non-linear is stiffness function of strain. Yeah. Also, isotropic and anisotropic. Isotropic mean the parameter of the material is homogeneous, but anisotropic is not homogeneous. Yeah. Okay. From the linear and non-linear elastic or isotropic and anisotropic model, we going to more advanced model. We call rigid elastic profile plastic. Yeah. In this group of soil model, we know Tresca model, MC model, yeah, Drucker-Berger model. And then more advanced from the rigid elastic profile plastic, because in rigid elastic profile plastic the stress strain response like this. Like this is a typical Mohr Coulomb stress strain response. There is no yield stress. This stress, this strain. Yeah. Suddenly the material will be have failure stress. So mean that sigma yield equal to sigma failure. This is typical for this model. Yeah. And then because the stress response is not represent the actual behavior of soil, they develop the next model, rigid elastoplastic critical state. Is more advanced from this one. Okay, and then you see also from this table, development of rigid elastoplastic critical state model. This one we call Sekiguchi Ota model. This is the famous one model from Japan. Yeah, we can model in modeling of Kinot stress state of NC clay. Yeah, NC clay, just for NC clay. But this for anisotropic model, and then the other model, but the same group is subsoil model. Yeah, subsoil model is also the famous model in Plexus, Midas, Abacus. Yeah, subsoil model. This model can model the behavior of consolidating soil when the load put in the soil. And then the next model is hardening soil model. Yeah, this for excavation slope. This for excavation. This is for fill. Yeah, excavation mean cut slope. If we have hill like this and then we cut it. For this kind of problem, it's better we use hardening soil model. Yeah, but for this case, fill soil, like I show you in the example. Yeah, we fill soil above the existing soil layer. It is better we use subsoil model. Yeah, so that's why I recommend you before we use finite element method, we first learn about the soil model. I mean the stress strain behavior of the soil model before we implement to the finite element software. Okay, and then this is a more advanced model. We call S-clay model. Yeah, and also in the commercial software such Flex. Yeah, they develop specific model for dynamic analysis, such as liquefaction analysis, something like that. Yeah. So there are two common problems in soil and rock boundary problem. First, a static and dynamic. So the trend of the development of the soil model is to make the computation of the finite element more rigorous, more accurate. But in the other side, of course, we will get a longer computing time, Pak Wahyudi.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Actually, we can divide soil model into 4 class, yeah, linear soil model, linear elastic, and non-linear elastic, and then rigid linear plastic model, and then elastoplastic critical state model, and then elastoplastic hyperbolic type model. Yeah, we can divide. I don't know about the rock model. Yeah, in the soil model, we can divide in 4 classes of the soil model, like in this slide. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Maybe I will show you also. Okay, this one. How to delete the. Okay. Okay. This slide show us a prediction of the Duncan-Cheng hyperbolic quasi-linear model. Yeah, to represent stress strain behavior from the sand soil. Yeah, this sand soil. We can see that the prediction of this model is not too good. Yeah, because the Duncan hyperbolic model is kind of curve. We call in the civil engineering fitting curve model. Fitting curve model, hyperbolic. So see Duncan and Cheng, they estimate the stress strain response of the soil as the hyperbolic curve. But actually, not all the soil have the hyperbolic stress strain response. Yeah, you see in sand, the behavior like this. Yeah, we have we call in the material model, we call the hardening behavior, and then softening like this. It is typical for sand. So that's why in my previous slide, this Duncan-Cheng hybrid modeling can be used just only for clay soil, not for sand soil, because the model cannot simulate the softening behavior. Even we use more, more number of node, we will get the same result. Yeah. So if you use 6 node, 15 node, even 21 node, yeah, triangular element, we will get similar result, not much different. So that's why I in my slide it's better we use simple model if our problem is simple, but for the complex problem, we can it's better we use the advanced model. Yeah. So if we increase the number of nodes, it's not too much different if we use a simple model. Yeah, if we compare with the actual stress response, this one is from laboratory test. Yeah, I think you get my point, right? Okay. 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 Is there any question?
I think there's no question again from participant.
Okay.
So we can. Okay.
Okay. We have 5 minutes before 9 o'clock. Okay. Pak Wahyudi.
Yeah.
Is there any question, Pak Wahyudi?
Okay, no, thanks. Yeah, it's enough for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's no question again. This is the end of our meeting for today, and we are going to the last session, photo session. So to all participants, please turn on your camera, and to Bapak Dr. Dedi Apriyadi, thank you very much for a very interesting and useful lecture for this session. And to all participants, please turn on your camera.
Oh, this evening we have 70.
Yes,
Around
75 participants. Okay. There are 3 slides, so we are start from slide 1, 1, 2, 3. The next slide, 1, 2, 3, and the last one, 1, 2, 3. Thank you to all participants. See you again tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
All the student,
Pak Dedi.
Wahyudi,
Okay.
Pak
Yeah,
Harmita.
you're welcome.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for coming and sharing.
Yeah, and we meet again tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And Professor G.D. Ogunbo will give a presentation about a subsurface imaging by multi-physics joint inversion of geophysical data. So don't forget to join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. Sorry. Yeah, and last session for tomorrow. Yeah, we have still one lecture from Professor Satria Abhyaksa. So don't forget to join this session. And after this session, we conduct some quiz, yeah, from material from a few days. Yeah, so I hope you can learn all material from this link. Yeah, I have wrote the link for a video. So all video is are available in our link. Yeah, Harmita, could you show the link? Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, yes, Pak Wahyudi.
Okay, please learn all videos and we will conduct a quiz session tomorrow evening. Yeah, thank you very much for Pak Dedi again, for Harmita as moderator, and for all attendants. Thank you. And now I can close this session. Yeah, and see you tomorrow. So I end this meeting for all.